Hello house lovers, there is the glorious Bonaccord house. Let's go inside. And yes, the wall, the stripping, there we are. I've nearly finished this first bit. What a task. But before we get diverted onto other subjects, I have discovered something. Come with me. There I was, minding my own business, pulling out a little set of drawers and a cupboard that was sitting there, when I found this card, neatly torn up and almost deliberately shoved behind it. Let's just read what it says. Dear Carlos, I'd love to catch up with you. It's been too long since we last met, and I miss you. Meet me at blah blah on Thursday the 3rd of April, and I'll buy you a W, maybe a wine. Love, Von. Maybe that's, who knows, Von. P.S. If you can't make it, call me on yada yada yada. And then here, maybe it says enclosed is a charcoal drawing I did, blah blah blah, I photocopied just for you. Oh, Carlos, did you make the assignation? How beautiful. And it reminds me of the film An Affair to Remember with Deborah Kerr and Cary Grant, when people arranged to meet and they didn't, and they're star-crossed lovers. So Carlos, did you make it? We will never know, but you tore up that card with such precision and determination and hid it. It makes me think that you didn't want to go on that assignation. Anyway, I hope everyone ended up happy. Really heartwarming personal stories which fill the house with the sense of all the people who've lived here before, which we must honour by making it a beautiful, love-filled house again, full of joy and carry-on and goings-on. So watch this space. Let's leave Carlos and his misconnection and let's talk about timber, because, as you know, I have been wildly and madly stripping the walls. But there are a few things to consider when you are restoring a house of this age, or kind of any age really. Different strippers can do different things to different woods. So it's important to know what the wood is before you get all cavalier with stripping it, because you can actually damage the wood that's underneath. So you need to know what lies beneath first. Now, there are a few ways to do that. You might remember that I was the benefit of the visit of the lovely Leslie Lauder and Mark Howard. I'll put the link to that video here. And they're experts in period houses, so they were able to walk through and give me a really good sense of what the timbers might be. Now, if you don't have the expertise of someone who can come and have a look, you're going to need to scrape your way to knowledge and understanding. So you need a scraper, and you need to, quite simply, just start scraping the timber like that. So you remove layers of paint until you get down to the original surface, and then you can see what the timber is. If you're not sure what the timber is, then at that point, get a carpenter through perhaps to have a look for you. But generally, you'll be able to tell if it's a light wood or a dark wood and make your assumptions from there. Now, in Victorian houses, a lot of these interior timbers were pine, and they were meant to be painted. Pine is a softwood, but it has a closed grain. So I can use just about any paint stripper on this. And once you scrape off all the paint, wash it down, and there you go. You've got your surface, which you then gently sand, and you do what you want, whether you're gonna polish the wood or paint it. There was a real trend in the 80s to strip pine and wax it, which, you know, it can work in certain interiors, but that's not what we're gonna do. Hardwoods are a very different thing. You'll need your trusty scraper. You get the tool and you scrape a little bit of the area to reveal what the timber is underneath. And you can see we've done a bit here on the mantelpiece. And what we revealed is that they are indeed cedar. Cedar and mahogany and oak and lots of other hardwoods have quite open grain. So if you apply a really intense stripper, you will strip off the paint, but you'll also open the grain, which then just means it needs to be sanded, but also then filled to fill in the grain. It's quite a complex process. Be careful with hardwoods. So use a paint stripper that is gentle and specifically designed for wood, and do it layer by layer by layer. You can also use a heat gun, which is quite safe as well, because that's not going to open the grain up. Of course, you need to mask yourself from here to eternity, because it will all be lead paint and it will ruin your life. You might also be interested in a more historic analysis of what lies beneath the various layers for decorative reasons. If it's a particularly early house or a house that had a particular aesthetic, you might want to replicate that. So you need to know maybe what the original colours were. Again, scraping down, and you need to gently scrape layer by layer, which can be difficult to get an idea of whichever colour may have been original or which colour you like. To colour match a paint, you need, which is amazing, you need an area or a chip of paint about the size of your thumbnail, and you can then take that into a paint store and they can analyse it and give you the closest match in their range. So how do you go about trying to peel back the layers, literally, to find out what you might want to do? Well, a good place to start is odd corners. Now, this area was behind a bulkhead, and because I think there may have been damp at some point and warmth, and it's relatively dry, apart from when it was damp, the paint has been affected and it's peeled off. Now, this is the only area in this whole downstairs hallway where this has occurred, and the wallpaper was revealed. And what I had to do was very painstakingly, with a scraper, just flick off, you see, all the little bits of paint that were covering the wallpaper to reveal this paper. And you do the same if it was a paint finish. Now, what this has enabled me to do is revealed quite a large part of the pattern and the repeat. So I'm going to spray that with water, not too much, let it soften, and then try and scrape it off so that we get a reasonably large flat bit, which we can then scan. Often behind architraves, the backs of cupboards, if there's any built-ins, you can often find fragments of what may have been lying there before and different coloured paints. There we are, house lovers, understanding your interior timbers 101. I can't wait to get my stripping hands on this partition and clean it up and reveal the pine. A lot of these decisions are really based on aesthetics, but also the materiality, and depending on how historically accurate you might want to be. And that depends really perhaps upon the age and the importance of your house. If it's a really important house, you're going to need to have to do the full-on scraping and colour analysis if you want to replicate the original colour scheme, and then understand what the different timbers need. So there we are, house lovers. I'm about to start on the timber, which is very exciting. I just got to finish peeling off the walls of this room first, which has been tedious, but never mind. But enough of me and enough of that. I hope wherever you are, things are well. We're still in stage 4 lockdown in Melbourne, so keep away, keep away. Take care. Thank you very much for watching and being engaged in my journey of restoration. Click like if you want to, and click subscribe if you want to. And I will see you next week with more adventures from Bon Accord House.